Happy Friday, everybody. I am so super excited to be here with you as people jump on to the live broadcast. I want to say thank you for an awesome week. It has been a fabulous week here at the F Words of Life, and I have just had an amazing week. I'm coming to you today from beautiful sunny San Diego here in my home office, my studio. And again, it's just been a fabulous week. So I hope you've had a fabulous week. I'm looking a little casual today. We're doing a little casual workout Friday. I went and did my walk. I didn't get it in early this morning, my 3 miles, and so it happened this afternoon. And I was like, well, you know what? Instead of rushing to make myself all fancy, I'll just be in my cap and be an athletic coach today, because today we've got an exciting topic, and I'm super excited to be here with you, whether live or on the replay. I certainly appreciate those of you that have been showing up live. It sure is awesome to know people are on live and I'm not just talking to myself in my office. So also, if you're watching the replay, I would greatly appreciate your comments, your likes, your loves, so I know that you're getting value out of these trainings and coachings, because that's really the only reason I do these, is so you get value. So we're streaming live right now on Instagram, we're streaming live right now on Facebook, and it is Friday. And so I don't look at this as, thank goodness it's Friday. If you have a 5-day work week, Monday through Friday, oh great, now I have, the weekend off to do nothing. No, this is an opportunity for you to launch into your weekend with momentum. So it's here in San Diego on the West Coast. It's almost 6 p.m. Happy hour. So if you have your water bottle with you, great, grab that. If you're drinking juice, if you're already having a glass of wine, I'm good with that too. Grab a beer, come on and join us. As I take a sip of my water, that is water right now. I will be enjoying a celebratory glass of wine later. So this week, we've really been laying the foundation for a lot of different things in terms of growth. Yesterday, if you missed our coaching live yesterday, we laid down a foundational framework that we're going to be going through the next 3 weeks. So if you missed that video, it's available on Facebook. You can download this guide, this entire guide, at the FWORDSofLife.com/FWORDS RESET, and certainly feel free to jump in and join us. You can go back and watch any of the replays that you wish on Facebook, and you can join us the next 3 weeks. Every day, Monday through Friday, we're doing live training, live coaching, live accountability, and giving you ways to level up all areas of your life. So today, I'm changing it up just a little bit. Because I was doing my journaling, planning my day. I had an appointment this morning, and I was, really just going through my day going, what's the message? Like, what's the message on Friday afternoon, evening? Maybe you're watching this on a Saturday morning that is going to be important for you and is equally important to me, because what I shared with you yesterday is, I think it was yesterday, is when I'm giving you a pep talk, when I'm doing training or coaching for you, when I'm preparing for it, I'm certainly doing it in this live environment. I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to you and myself, both. And so, my friend, if you're getting value from this, know that I am as well. Because not only do I have to prepare, and I get to choose to prepare. It's not that I have to. I don't have to get on and do these things. I choose to prepare for these live casts, which gets me in a certain frame of mind, and then I get to deliver it in this live environment, which some people are terrified of. And to be quite honest, it used to absolutely terrify me to be on live, whether it was a webinar and I wasn't even on camera. And then when I started doing these on camera, I would get so nervous. And occasionally I do still get nervous. I mean, it happens. I'm human. But I really just enjoy so much bringing new things to you. Or maybe it's not new, but it's reminders. And today might be one of those reminders. And the word that we're going to talk about, I decided we're going to do F Word Friday. I don't know if this will be a thing that we always do or every once in a while, but today it's F Word Friday. And our word of the day, of the week, of the weekend is fortitude. Okay? Fortitude. And this word, what I want to do, so we're going to jump right in. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about what is fortitude. I'm going to give you a definition, give you a couple of synonyms and other words that might resonate with you. So if fortitude doesn't resonate with you, choose one of these other words. It might not be an exact match, but if for some reason it resonates with you, cling on to that word, write it down. Okay? Then we're going to talk about what can get in your way. So when we're talking about fortitude and specifically in regards to achieving your goals, there are things that are going to undermine you. So I'm going to give you 5 specific things that could potentially undermine you that I want you to be aware of. I want you to be cognizant of, because if you're cognizant of it, now you can create a game plan to attack it so that you have a higher likelihood of success. Okay? And then finally, I'm going to give you 5 specific points on how you can cultivate more fortitude. And that's really exciting to me, because this isn't something you're either born with or you're not born with. Okay? If we start to think of fortitude as the heart of a champion, it doesn't matter if you're into sports or not. You know of some athletic, Olympian, everybody's seen certain videos of the gymnasts who do these amazing things and they're injured, and how did they do that? It really does come down to fortitude. How does somebody get up every day at 4 a.m. and drive themselves, into working out so that they want to become a world-class athlete? They weren't just born with it. There's reasons that they developed it. And so fortitude in definition is either courage, if you want to think of it that way, in the face of adversity. You can think of it as mental and emotional strength while dealing with pain, while dealing with difficulty. And so it's really courage during pain, during adversity, and really just moving forward. How do I continue to move forward? Some other words. I wrote some other words down here. So you could say I have great resolve, right? This is almost like, in some ways, resilience. It's a little bit different than resilience. Resilience is, hey, how can I kind of take the hit and keep going? I see fortitude in a lot of ways the same way, right? It's like, okay, how do I have the courage or the mental strength to deal with, to conquer this adversity that I'm faced with? And so strength of mind, strength of character. And so you'll see somebody and you're like, man, that person, they have such strength of character. I admire them so much. They didn't just wake up with it one day. They weren't just born with it. Okay? So we're going to talk about how you right now can start to cultivate this. Fearlessness is another word. It happens to be an F word. Tenacity, perseverance, heart, the heart of an athlete, right? The heart of that mountain climber that climbed Mount Everest, which blows my mind. And I can't even, conceptualize how these people do this, right? You got to have some heart. You got to have some moxie. You got to have some endurance. And then the word that you hear a lot that's kind of in a similar vein, that's become very popular over the last couple of years in pop culture and in personal development, is grit. Do you have grit? And that's a piece of what this is too. So there's a great book called Grit, written by Angela Duckworth. I highly recommend it. But for today, you're getting this in the synopsis. A lot of different sources all brought to you here in one. All right. So the question is, can you develop it? I've already said that over and over and over. Yes, you can. It's almost like a skill. It's a habit. It's a mindset. All of those things that you can develop. The great thing is, and one of the reasons that I decided to do this training today was to tee us all up again for next week and the next 3 weeks as I start to go through this formula for success. And it's going to take fortitude. It's going to take resilience. It's going to take you jumping out of your comfort zone. It's going to take failure. And so as we do this, I wanted us to have this framework of fortitude going into it, because that's something we're going to be developing along the way. Now, as you're changing, as you're shifting, as you're improving, as you're leveling up, if you will, in the 7 F words of life, how are you going to be able to do that? What could possibly knock you off course? Because who here has ever said, you know what, by gosh, I'm going to do this one thing, right? I'm going to get in better shape. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to, be more present with my children. I'm going to have a better relationship with my spouse. I'm going to make more money, right? We have all these things and dreams, and in many ways, they're very similar across the board. That's the reason the F-Words of Life works for everyone, is because we all have something in each of these 7 Fs. And so we start it, we get really excited, maybe 1, 2, 3 days. It's like the day after New Year's, when everybody shows up at the gym, and by the second week, nobody's at the gym anymore, and you're the only person there. Right? We get really excited. It's new and I'm committed, and then phew, our motivation, right, disappears. Well, what else can undermine it? So I'm going to talk about that first before I give you the solutions and some of the things that you can start to work on to cultivate your fortitude. Number 1, what can undermine your fortitude, your success in building new habits, mindsets, and ultimately achieving your goals and having success? Number 1 is your own beliefs. Okay, your beliefs. So if I'm sitting here saying, hey, you know what, you, Mary, you can absolutely cultivate fortitude. You can cultivate the strength of character. Maybe in your mind you say, well, Brenda, I've never followed through on anything in my life, right? I've never, or I always give up. I always find some way to mess it up and fail. Those are your belief systems currently. They're very limiting beliefs. They are going to hinder you in moving forward. That's going to undermine you. A big piece of what I teach through coaching, facilitating, my writing, all of that, and that's in the success formula, is about your belief system. So if you're noticing your beliefs, you're like, well, yeah, I want to do this, but da-da-da-da-da. And the committee starts going and starts telling you all the negative things. Or maybe you grew up in a house. I mean, it happens. Or in a school system that said, hey, you're not good enough. You're never going to be worth anything. And you've come to believe that. So how could you have the strength of character and the heart of a champion, right? And that's what goes on in your head. So certainly those limiting beliefs can be the number 1 thing that can undermine you. We're going to talk about, again, not only today's the snippet, but we're going to talk about in depth how you're going to overcome, and you're going to start reprogramming those limiting beliefs as we go through our free coaching on a daily basis, and specifically during this F-Words reset process that is specifically designed for you. Okay, number 2, what else can undermine you? Other people's opinions. Okay, so let's say you're in a relationship, or you have parents, whatever. You have people around you, even you have coworkers or a boss or something like that, and you start making these shifts and you say, hey, you know what, I'm dedicated to this. This is the shift I'm making. At work every day for 15 minutes, I'm going to go walk around the block. Well, what's interesting is when you start shifting and you start focusing on things like that for yourself, right? It makes other people uncomfortable when they aren't also working on things for themselves. Okay, so it doesn't have to just be a spouse or significant other. It could be a coworker. And suddenly you'll find them dragging you down. Like, wait, where are you going? Stay down here in mediocrity with me. Or, criticizing you. That's so stupid. What can you do in 15 minutes? And suddenly your brain, your fortitude starts going out the window, right? It's like, well, maybe they're right. And then that limiting self-belief starts coming back in. If you're an approval seeker and you need other people's approval to be able to rock your own life, that's going to be a challenge, and that's going to fall into this category. So we're going to talk about that as we continue to move forward. But I want you watching for these pitfalls. I want you noticing what's a trigger for you. When you're set on something, is it your own thoughts? Is it somebody else talking or saying or trying to pull you down? That is the challenge. Number 3, you take on too many things at one time. That will undermine you. That will limit the ability to stay the course, if you will. So again, I've given this example in previous trainings of, it's New Year's Eve, I'm writing all my resolutions, and I've got 47 resolutions that I'm going to start tomorrow. The likelihood of you succeeding in one is extremely slim, much less in 47. And so there's a great saying that says, oftentimes we overestimate what we can do in 1 year, and we underestimate what we can do in a decade. Okay, think about that. We way overestimate what we can do in a year, right? We way overestimate, but we way underestimate what we can do in a decade. Meaning you got to have the long-term plan here. You've got to prioritize. You've got to really narrow it down. And you can do that in quick ways by habit stacking. And so if you're working on your physical health, we can talk about ways, hey, if you start taking care, so I'm doing my walks every day, right? To some people that may, if you run marathons, you may say, Brenda, walking 3 miles, that's nothing. I got you on this. You're right, you do. However, this is something that I'm dedicated to, moving my body every day, a minimum of those 3 miles, no matter what. And so for me, that's just my that's my fortitude right now. That's my line in the sand. I'm doing this no matter what, because I know I'll feel better. I know I'll have more energy. And yet what I'm finding is by doing that, I'm more conscientious of what I'm putting into my body. And so I'm not even working on like what I'm eating or my food or anything like that, but I can tell you it's going to become much easier to do that, because if I'm going and doing that walk, the last thing I want to do is put in garbage, because I feel like I'm just undoing everything, right? It's like, well, wait, I feel so great and I have energy. I don't want to do those things. And so it can be something like that, or it could be something like, hey, you've already have a good established habit. How can we stack another one and actually link it to? So that's another strategy that we can use. But doing too many things at once, trying to change or improve upon or create new rituals all at the same time, it's, again, more than likely, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, that's not a success formula, right? That's not going to get you ultimately where you want to go. But if you can link one to another, to another, to another every 30 days, think about it. If you could create 12 new habits a year, how many do you usually create? One? And yet you think about it, well, I've got to do all this stuff, right, by next year. Well, if you did 6, and the next year you did 8, and the next year you did 10, think about where you would be in 3 years versus trying to do them all at once and then falling apart. That's number 3. I said I wasn't going to get into solutions, but I am. Okay, number 4, one thing to how you will undermine yourself. If you say you want to start something brand new and it's going to take you time, the thing that will undermine you is not choosing what you're letting go of. So what do I mean by that? So let's take finances, the F word of finances. And let's say one of the things that you want to do, sorry, I had a little cat down here. I wasn't sure what she was doing. So let's say one of the things you want to do is you want to start saving $50 a month. Okay? $50 a month is going to go immediately into your savings account and you're not going to touch it. That's going to start building your abundance. Well, if you don't give up something, if that's something that you've been spending $50 on, how are you going to save it? So you've got to have this mindset that what am I willing to give up so that I can actually live my highest and best life? So if you want to go back to school, are you willing to give up 3 hours or 5 hours or 10 hours of Netflix on the weekend, either to go to class or do your homework or whatever it is? So there's always this trade-off. It's not that you don't have enough time, it's that the priorities aren't there. So we can talk about that. That could literally be an hour-long coaching session. So I'm giving you these tidbits so you can see and have hope. It's not a bad thing that there's all these pieces. It's a good thing because you can break them down. Certain parts are going to be easy for you. Maybe other people's opinions, you've already conquered that. That doesn't matter to you. But maybe you haven't thought about, okay, what do I need to give up? What am I willing to sacrifice to live the life of my dreams? So what was that? I think that was number 4. Number 5 is overcommitting in general. I talked about prioritizing. If you cannot learn to say no, how are you going to have the fortitude to work on the priorities that you've set out for yourself? So we're talking about your stick-withedness, your strength of character to follow your passions, your dreams, and your goals in a systematic way. And if you get a lot of opportunities, and I got news for you, the more successful you become, the more people see you having success, the more you'll get asked to do other things. If you're becoming very successful in your job, have you ever noticed, then suddenly the boss is asking you to do more and more and more. I'm not saying go and tell your boss, hell no, you're not doing anything. What I am saying is be very aware and conscious. If you're involved in a church or a community, or you're involved in your kids' lives, it's not about saying no to everything. It's about how do they line up with your priorities, your purpose, and your goals. And we're going to talk about that more as we continue. So to recap real quickly before we move on to the final piece, We've talked about how fortitude, which is the courage and the mental and emotional strength to get through adversity, to go through pain, to go through difficulty, how that ties back to what we went through yesterday and we're going to be spending the next 3 weeks on in terms of this success formula. Okay, it ties into your visions and goals, very much so, because if you don't have clear vision and goals, your fortitude will go out the window. It ties into your mindset and beliefs. Okay, we talked about that as the #1 underminer, your own beliefs. If you don't believe you're worthy to stick with, or you always say you're a failure, or you don't have strength of courage or a strength of character, you don't have the courage and the heart of an athletic lion, right? An Olympian. That's the old tape in your head. Do we have tapes anymore? You guys know what those are, right? The old programming, we've got to reprogram that, and that's what we're going to be working on, as well as creating new habits. So quickly, what can undermine it? Your own negative limiting beliefs, other people's opinions of you, too many changes all at one time, you not recognizing that you may have to give up something to gain this new habit pattern of fortitude, and then overcommitting to other people's priorities and not making them line up with yours, right? Not saying no. It's okay to say no politely and say, you know what, if I gave you that hour, that takes an hour away from my children. That takes an hour away from this other thing that I'm doing. And really, you don't even owe a justification. Just a polite no is enough, but it makes it easier for people to swallow. And for those of you that are people pleasers, that's your hint there. You can use that. So finally, as we kind of start to wrap up here on Friday afternoon, and congratulations to those of you that are live and watching this. I'm proud of you. Way to finish the week strong. So F word of the week of the day is fortitude. You have it, and I'm proud of you, and I appreciate you. So let's talk about 5 ways, just 5 simple tips in how you can actually develop and strengthen your fortitude, your strength of character, your heart, your grit, your resilience. #1, practice. If you've ever played sports of any kind, you've ever been a musician of any kind, right? Anything that you want to master in any way requires practice, and pretty much on a daily basis. So let's say you start out with a new habit, you've got your fortitude in line, you've got your right mindset, and you just blow it. Okay, there's always tomorrow, right? Just get back up on the horse. You're going to practice, practice, practice. You're going to build skills so that you can continue to be more successful. So if you're starting something new you haven't worked out ever in your life, you're going to actually have to build a skill set, a physical skill set, to become more athletic, if you will, to be able to be stronger. That's going to require practice, and it's going to require the practice of sticking with it, which is fortitude, right? I talked about habit stacking. That's part of this as well. Practicing, practicing, practicing. #2, how can you develop your fortitude? You got to figure out what's your purpose. Because when it's 5 a.m. and you don't want to get out of bed and it's freezing outside or it's really hot outside and you know you've got this goal that you want to hit, if you don't connect it back to a higher purpose, again, your likelihood of doing it and just gritting it out just to do it is lower. If you know you have a sense of purpose, if it may be it's your kids. I use kids a lot because a lot of people, that's, you know, kind of their why is leaving this legacy. For you, it may be a community impact. You know that, hey, I want to leave the world a better place in this way. I want to be able to free up my time so I can actually travel to this place and make this impact. I want to actually, you know, have an impact on my community and the women in my community specifically. And here's how. I want to be able to have an impact on my church and my faith in this way. It doesn't matter to me what it is. It's about you connecting to a higher purpose. How can you impact and make someone else's life better? Because we're all here to do that in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Yours may be one person, yours may be 1 million, or anywhere in between. One person is significant. I've already told the starfish story earlier this week. It matters to that one starfish, right? That's a life significantly lived. And you've all impacted lives up till now. And now with intention, you'll impact even more, which then will bless you 10 to 1,000-fold, right? And so finding your purpose. If you're unclear on your purpose, be here next week when we start talking about vision. That's going to be step one. It's going to be, what is the vision that you have for your highest and best life? And if you've never written that, I'm going to walk you through a process, and we're going to focus on that. We are going to make it so detailed and visceral that I want you reading it every single day. And we're going to get into that. So I get super excited. It's one of my favorite processes to do. So don't miss that next week. Okay, number 3, surround yourself with positive people. Okay, you're not always going to wake up and go, woohoo, right? Sometimes you need a community. This is your tribe right here. If you're showing up, this is your F tribe. Your F tribe right here, the F words of life, is only going to get bigger. My shirt today, I know you can't see it, it says find your tribe, and then underneath it says love them hard. And so I believe in that. You want to be around like-minded people. Again, some people in your life are going to try to tear you down because it makes them uncomfortable when you're rising up. So find people who support you in rising up. You can find meetup groups. You can find like-minded interest groups. You can find a book club. I don't care what it is, but if you don't currently have it, you can find it and then continue to show up here, because the tribe can just be you and me right now. And if we're, if I'm helping you raise the bar and I'm helping you feel more motivated and just stick with it every day, and if you have been sticking with it and you're on day 5 of the F Words Reset, baby, you got some fortitude and you're well on your way. If not, go back and catch up, or just start today and be with us moving forward, okay? Like-minded, positive people. When you have a bad day, they're going to be the ones that lift you up. Now, every day can't be a bad day on your part, and they're lifting you up on every other day, right? So just make sure you understand that. It's a give and take. Number 4, you got to believe in your potential to have fortitude. This ties back directly to that limiting belief that I already talked about. And so the solution is shifting your belief system, shifting your limiting beliefs. Guess what we're going to talk about? Right? We're going to go through an entire series of trainings on how you identify your limiting beliefs. How do I even become aware of them? If you're not aware of them, you can't change them. So awareness is step number 1. And we're going to spend one day next week, that week after next, I think, 2 weeks from now, talking about that. Don't miss any of the trainings. They all build on each other. So believing in yourself, creating and cultivating that self-talk that instead of says, I'm not good enough, or, I've never been somebody that completes things, or I'm always a quitter and I always fail. No. We're going to shift that. And then number 5 is be consistent. With fortitude, again, it takes practice. It kind of ties back to that. It takes showing up. It takes doing your best. So let's just take exercise, for example, because it's a good one. It's universal. Everybody understands the need to move their body, right? Well, let's say you're not feeling great. Women, do we ever have a day of the month where we're just not feeling all that awesome, right? Or whatever. You didn't get a good night's sleep, but you're committed. And you say, you know what? Fortitude told me, right? In my head, my strength of character said, do it anyway, and do your best. So let's say you were supposed to run 6 miles and you went out and you walked a mile instead, but you did something. That's a win. You kept the ritual up and you did it. So do your best. Even if you can't go 1,000%, do it to the percentage that you can honestly give it your best today. And then tomorrow, set the reset button, hit the reset button, and do it again. All right. And then that is number 5. And then what I will say about this is sometimes you do just have to grit it out, right? If with fortitude, it's like, just get working out again is the best example. It's like, God, you hate it. And then about halfway through, you're like, I actually feel better, right? Sometimes you just got to get that first step in, right? So sometimes that mentality of just do it anyway does apply. Now, final caveat. If you're finding that you have a ritual or a habit or something you're pursuing where every single time you're having to tell yourself, just do it anyway, just suck it up and do it anyway. I'm talking about perpetually. You've been doing this now for 6 months. You've done it for 6 months. I said I was going to start on this project. I was going to write a book, right? I committed to writing a book. I'm not me personally. I'm giving you this as an example. I told myself I'm going to write this book. I set myself a goal. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to write 5 pages every day. I've written them every day. I've hated every moment of it. I've just gritted myself through it. then what I would say to you on that one is you might have the wrong goal. Because if you're not still fascinated by it, there's a challenge there. If there isn't something that's sparking you. Now, this is a double-edged sword, because when you commit to doing something over the long term, it doesn't mean that it's woohoo party time every single time you sit down to do it. You have to get through the boring and mundane phases and seasons that you go through. You have to push through that. That's what the fortitude is. And so if you think of it in terms of growth, sometimes we spike, right? That's when we get really excited about something. We have this spike. Well, you're always going to plateau and sometimes go backwards. So fortitude is going to get you through that to kind of the next, hey, I feel great. I hit this success. I'm going to celebrate it. But if you're always on the plateau for a long extended period of time, then what I'd say is we probably need to say F it and relook at your vision, your goals, and why you're doing what you're doing, and see if we need to readjust the whole game plan. Okay, so that doesn't mean you get to jump from one thing to another, to another, to another, just to have the excitement of newness. But if you are finding yourself just gritting it out over and over and over, we got to go back to the success plan. We got to go through the checklist and see where the challenge is. And sometimes it's just that we changed our mind on the goal, and it's okay to do that. All right, my friends, it is Friday. I hope you have had a phenomenal week. I have had one being here with you every day. What I will tell you is I truly appreciate you. I honor you for being here. I thank you for trusting me as your coach and your trainer to show up for yourself. And I look forward to, at minimum, the next 3 weeks of being here every day with you live doing the FWORDS Reset experience, because we've got another 3 weeks of that, which I'm super excited about. I'm planning on Monday being back at 5:45 p.m. Pacific. Now, if that time doesn't work and you're finding, hey, do we want to try some different times? Shoot me some messages. Give me some feedback. Let me know if there's a different time. If you're getting value of this, please leave a comment. Let me know your takeaways. Are you enjoying it? Is it giving you motivation? Are you feeling your fortitude? Like it, love it, all those fun things on social media. But mostly, give me honest feedback. Is this helping, right? Are you getting value? Even if you're only watching 5 minutes of it, is it giving you something to propel you forward? So your action step for today, because I told you, as a coach, I'll never leave you with lack of an action step for the day, and we're going into the weekend. What I want you thinking about, and you don't have to do anything other than just let this marinate for the next couple of days until we're back together on Monday. Because on Monday, what we're going to do is we're going to start working on vision. We're going to start working very much so on your vision. So in other words, where are you going in the next 10 years? 5 to 10 years. We're going to cast a really big vision, okay? So this weekend, I want you thinking about, what does that look like? Where do I want to be? Do I have any ideas? And if you have ideas through the weekend, because as you plant this seed and it marinates, what I'm telling you is you'll be out doing something and you'll go, ooh, that was cool, or ooh, I like that, or you'll just have an aha moment of, ooh, I want more of that in my life. Jot it down. Okay, you don't have to sit down for an hour and do anything, but capture it. Everybody's got their phone with them at all times. Get the notes section out or whatever you use. If you don't use anything like a notes app on your phone, start using it, because you have the most brilliant ideas when you're out and about doing things, or when you're in the shower, believe it or not. You get out of the shower, by the time that you move on and you go to work and whatever, you've forgotten it, right? So jot it down. Jot down the ideas that you have, and then that way when you come back on Monday, you're going to be even more prepared to write your vision, cast your vision, and live your best possible life. Thank you, everyone. I've enjoyed being here with you this week. I can't wait to see you on Monday. Feel free to reach out at any time. Direct message me, Facebook message me, send me an email, Brenda at the FWordsOfLife.com. Many of you have my text and my phone number. Feel free to reach out if I can support you. And again, I'm proud of you, genuinely. And thanks for letting me come into your home, if you will, every day and share what I've learned with you, which equally inspires me to keep raising the bar. So everybody have a great weekend, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Bye, everybody.